got a question for you.
Unlock your profits, unlock your potential show on the International Business Growth Radio Network. I'm back. My name is Jason Wally Waldron. I'm your host, and I am here with Ryan Healy of Upsender. And we have been talking about, first, a little bit about where Ryan came from and how he became an entrepreneur and how he's been unemployable for basically a quarter century. And then we talked about effective email copywriting. What are lists, and how do you get those lists delivered? What are some best practices around actually making the magic happen? And I want to change our discussion a little bit here, Ryan, because, at Exitology, we help businesses to not just grow, but we help them maximize their value and then ultimately unlock that value of the business. And so, the growth side makes a lot of sense. We're talking about marketing campaigns, right? Every dollar you put into the machine, $4 or more comes back just on a revenue basis. But what's important when you're building a business is that revenue supporting a business case of actually creating transferable value, right? Or in other words, is it the type of value that an investor could look at and say, I want to buy that business? Because if the revenue isn't flowing to that, you're kind of missing the boat. At least that's our position on things. And so to that end, I wanted to, pick your brain a little bit as, you're a co-founder of a company. And you are in charge of systems. You are in charge of scaling. And so, from structural capital to human capital to, creating customer capital, making sure that not one customer holds your business over a barrel and all these other things. Just what does it look like from your position in terms of the business that you've built, but also the good, bad, and the ugly of the businesses that you serve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when Justin and I started the company, it was really just me and him, plus our number one, Jasmine, along with a VA who did some part-time work for us. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of where we started.
Pretty lean and mean.
Yeah, lean and mean. And I were doing a lot of the work, a lot of the daily work. And then as we began to grow, obviously we needed more talent. We needed more people.
Yeah.
So I began to document my processes and my procedures, and fairly elementary. I would open a Google document, start a new Google document, and start writing down what it is that I do for the client, for list management. And then each step along the way, I would open up my Loom. Loom is an extension you can get for Chrome or other browsers and to record your screen, right?
Yep.
So I would just do a quick Loom video, like 1 or 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes on the high side, and then embed that link into the document. So it's like a written instruction, and then now watch it. Written instruction, now watch it. Yep. And then I tried to break up the different things that I do into individual steps, right? So like try to break it down as small as possible so that you can say, okay, instead of having one person do all of these steps, I'll have one person do these on the front side and then another person do these on the back side.
Yeah.
So they become a specialist here and somebody else becomes a specialist here.
And so let me just double check my understanding. So you went from essentially, and I'm going to say sale up, makes your first 2 or 3 sales, very lean and mean, but very rapidly into scale up. And that's what you're describing right now.
Yeah, because I had to understand and document what I was doing in order to train other people on how to do it.
Yep.
And so we began to scale up, and we went through like 4 different people where I was trying to teach them, and they kept making what I call feedback mistakes, where I would correct them, but then they would continue to make the same mistake in the future over and over again.
What kind of mistakes do you call those? You kind of blanked out for a second there.
Oh, thematic. So like a theme,
Okay. Yeah, totally. Yeah, like for whatever reason, 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing, right? You keep screwing this up the same way, not slowing down, actually understanding the process, not necessarily looking at following it or doing the work or whatever. So that's right. Am I going on the right direction there? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. That's going to look different for every business. But
Right.
ours is a very highly detailed business. And if
Right.
you are not dotting your I's and crossing your T's,
Yeah.
you are out.
No, I love this. This is a great gift to the business owner community because these are real issues that don't often get discussed, right? And it's also a great gift for people who are trying to do the best job they can because, it's a two-sided thing, right? If you're given a very good detailed process and you're unable to follow that to the end of the road, either the process is broken or you're not following it. But either way, that needs to be discovered and fixed so that you can serve
Yes.
your customers, right?
Yeah, 100%. So right now, we are in a pretty good place in terms of staffing. We have now 5 full-time people plus me and Justin.
Yeah.
So a team of 7. Justin and I are no longer having to be in the weeds 8 hours a day doing the
Awesome.
work. So we can do some more strategic things like being on Wally's show here,
Right. I want to point out something that's really cool here for our listeners is, first of all, what you demonstrated there was, first we start with structural capital, and structure can oftentimes mean, first let's document this process. Let's break it down into, as small of steps as possible so that essentially the human capital elements can be quasi, if not totally interchangeable parts. That's super important.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I always point out, people get their egos really messed up in this sometimes. And I point out to everybody that, my neighbor who is 62 years old and flies the 777 to Tokyo still follows the United Airlines FAA approved checklist every single time so that nobody dies on that stinking airplane. And so
I thank him for that.
And I thank him for that too. And so, and he thanks the FAA and United for that 3. And so it's right. Cause so first of all, for everybody listening, like it's good. It's very good to have these things in place, but more importantly, and this is where I want to go with this, is now that this structure has been built and it's taken a little while, but not 100 years while, you and Justin, the owners of this company, I remember you shared a really cool story with me that I'm hoping you'll share with the listeners about how you actually took your family on a vacation this summer while the company continued to grow and thrive without your direct involvement for a little while. So tell us about that, because that's really it's a twofold thing. It's a test for people who potentially buy your company to see if it's sellable. But more importantly, that's good lifestyle dividends. That's wealth. That's really what it's about. So let's go there a little bit.
Yeah. So, every year we try to do like a 1-week family vacation.
Yeah.
The freelancer, when I was a pure freelancer where I was doing the work and writing the copy and everything like that, it was really difficult to completely plug because I would have to tell all my clients, like, look, I'm gone this week, don't contact me. And then I would have to clear my calendar, but then I also have looming deadlines hitting the next week and the next week. And so it's hard to really get out of that completely. But this summer, because we had put into place some people who are doing well, and we had procedures and all the client relationships were working well. I was able to, at least on my part, schedule out the calendar and then hand things off to other people and just unplug for a full week. And I literally didn't check my email until the last day of the vacation. It was really just to make sure, like before we packed up and went home, I was like, make sure. But there are no fires or emergencies. It was all good. Justin, my partner, has my cell phone, so he could have called me, but he left me alone as well. And just like this kind of surreal thing where I'm like, man, I've just been up here in the mountains with my family, reading, hiking, doing paddle boats, eating out, and I haven't had to worry about anything. It's great.
So this is exactly what it's all about. Everything that you just shared there. And I want to ask you, because you've really gone through this transformation of building a business the right way, and the exit will take care of itself whenever that moment happens for you guys. But when was the last time you had a week like that prior to building a business this way?
Oh, geez. Really, it's hard to remember if I have ever had a week like that, I mean, the prior summer, I had done the same as a week-long vacation in the mountains with my family, just like I did this last summer. but there wasn't quite as much freedom. I did log in a little bit and answer some
Sure.
client emails and things like that. So it wasn't quite as much of an unplug. It was close, but
Right.
I was still the bottleneck. I was still the guy. Like if I wasn't handling things, nobody else was.
Right. Well, and so this is one of those, important, I guess, rewards that I want to share with the business community is look at the difference of, basically you've never experienced this before. And, at the same time, the business was thriving without your involvement. And that is really the combination that we want to see with these businesses, because if you build a business the right way, ultimately you should be decentralized to that point where it can keep going without you, and you can step aside and go, in your case, do the things that you want to do, right? Read some classical literature, ride the recumbent bicycle, hang out with the family, all those kind of things. And so I think as we're kind of wrapping up this hour here, what are some parting thoughts, parting wisdom you'd like to share with the audience? Because you're ahead of some of the folks who are listening to this.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of recap a couple of things. One is if you're not emailing your list once a week and trying to maintain that and bring fresh people onto your list, I think that should be a priority, because if you need a new client, you need a new deal, it could very likely, most probably, come from your email list.
Right.
So that's kind of your growth engine right there. And the other thing, whatever processes you have in your business, if they can be documented, document them, have somebody else try to run through what you've created. And then if they ask questions, they're confused, you go in, you update, you iterate, you make it better, you improve it until somebody can look at it and they can go through the whole thing, complete the process, and it's done to your standard. So those two things, super important, will totally change your business.
Ryan, that is amazing. And I love how well it's communicated. And, as we know, yes, those are simple things, but not necessarily simple and easy are not the same thing. So thank you very much for sharing that with our audience. Thank you for being here today. You can find out more about Ryan Healy and his company at upsender.com. And folks, you can always hit exitology.com. Click on the button to join us for a live executive briefing, and we can go through some of these concepts live with you and your business. Until next time, we'll see you later. This has been Exitology. Unlock your profits, unlock your potential.